Hey everybody, welcome to Jet Live. I'm here with Gaby Shine, Abuela from In the Heights. You also were in Guys and Dolls, and so many other shows that I can't even. Probably, if we had a list, it would fill the whole entire screen. Maybe. So I'm going to ask Marian Metzinger. Says hi, by the way. What's with the hat?
Okay, so the hat is, first of all, in honor of Jen, because Jen always tells me to put on my Sunday clothes ever since we were in Hello Dolly, and there's a world out there. So I think that was a really good message for the moment. Put on your Sunday clothes, there's a world out there. And thanks to CB, we're bringing that world together so that we can feel it even when we're all at home. But Jen, Refuah Shlema, this hat is in your honor. Rather, it's a fascinator, darling. It's not a hat, fascinator. It's also in honor of Eleanor Kaufman and Robert Binder, my chairman, who both appreciate a good hat, or a good fascinator, rather. And it's also in honor of Michael Bell, my captain, who appreciates me for the diva that I am and lets me be that diva. So hats off, people. So now that we've done the hat thing, I'm going to take it off because when you asked me to do this interview, this is a little tricky. I chose to do it tonight because it would have been the opening night of South Pacific, and that's both pretty heartbreaking, but also hopeful, because I'm hoping that one day we'll get that community together in Encore and get back on that stage. But it felt like a moment that needed to be marked with something positive, and especially because my character is Bloody Mary. So there's my bones and my skulls and my everything else that I have ready. In honor of her, in honor of South Pacific, in honor of the cast of South Pacific, hi guys. One of the songs that I sing is Happy Talk. And so in honor of what would have been the opening night of South Pacific, I think it's time for some happy talk, right?
Exactly. Did Robert let you take that? Is that his or is that yours?
So he has even better stuff than this because his is handmade. But if you remember, Purim was like a few days before lockdown, and I'm pretty crazy. I love doing Purim and my kids' costumes and this and the other. And we were Sesame Street this year, so I was in all the stores getting all the junk you get to make your Purim costumes, and I spotted this. So I'm like, okay, I got to get that for Bloody Mary just in case we need it. So I bought it.
Yeah, you guys on Purim make the best, like really amazing family costumes.
Thank you. So the kids come up with the ideas, and somehow we have to make them happen. So that's always the challenge every year.
I don't know if you're able to, but you have like the whole wall of all the costumes, no, in the house?
Yeah, it's on Mia's wall this year. Yep. And we've got a wall of all the pictures of every Purim with all the family costumes.
Right, exactly. But you probably can't go show everybody that now.
Well, I'm hoping I'm going to be. We have a tradition with the kids that I do with them is called musicals education. So we make sure to try and get to every single community theatre performance so that they can learn the musicals, because I think that's really one of the greatest things about the English-speaking theatre community here, especially in Jerusalem, is it gives a chance for the younger generation of English-speaking kids, and also non-English-speaking kids, but especially the English-speaking kids, to learn the musicals and the theatre that for us was so natural when we had access to, and they don't have access to. So for me, as well as supporting the community and enjoying the theatre for myself, bringing the kids to see these shows every time we do one is their musical theatre education, and they know that it's like another class in their musical theatre education. And Mia collects all the programs, and she's already got a list of how many musicals she's been to and knows now. Eliav's been on the lighting for some of them recently.
Right.
And so it's really a family thing, both of being in theatre and watching theatre now. And I think that's really one of the most blessed things about this community and what we do in terms of artistic performance is it's a service to the next generation of English-speaking kids, because otherwise they wouldn't get access to this stuff.
So Purim, you have all your you can make all your costumes based on musicals, right?
That's the thing. I'm hoping I'm going to get to the point where they know enough musicals well enough that will be able to do a musical theme one year, but they choose the theme, so it's up to them, not to me.
Well, I actually have something I'll bring up now. So Natan Skop created an archive that we're trying to gather all the information, all the history of all of the theater that has happened in the community theater in English into one space, into one place. And we're going to be bringing it hopefully into the library at Hebrew University. So that would be if you have all those programs, go ahead and check out that archive. And fill in. You could fill in based on the programs who was in it and all that.
That's
it's a really amazing archive. It's a lot of it's a lot of work. So calling all the community to check it out and look at it and start putting all that information together.
I'm so glad you took that initiative, because also everyone's got their recordings of shows and all the paraphernalia, but for someone to really make that archive and have it together is great. So thank you guys. Awesome.
And it's great to have all those programs. I have a bunch too. Actually, really funny story. My sister went to Broadway shows with my brother-in-law in like the early 2000s, and I hadn't gone to really any Broadway shows. And I was at her house, and I saw all these playbills, and I'm like, "Whoa, you saw all these shows?" She doesn't really do that much these days. And she's like, "Yeah," and my brother-in-law was like, "We did." We saw those shows, and she's like, "That's it. Stevie, you could take all these other programs because it doesn't seem like I had somebody to play with me." So I have all these programs in my house of Broadway shows that I actually didn't see, but I know them. I know of them. I just didn't see them. Like Cats, for example. I have Rent.
It's live. It's live on the Andrew Lloyd Webber YouTube channel this Friday.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. It's going to be live tomorrow. It was one of the musicals that I always wanted to see, and then it closed right before I got the chance. So I saw it here with Israel Musicals. I was so happy.
Yeah, there you go. It's great music. Very strange musical.
It's based on a book that doesn't really have a story or something.
Right, with T.S. Eliot. Right. It's based on poems.
Yeah. Poems, exactly. That's usually what happens when you put poems into stories. They don't necessarily make a story because you need character and relationships and settings and all that kind of stuff. And poems have all that, each one on its own, but putting them all together, it's interesting. Like if you did a play of Shakespeare's sonnets.
Someone's done that, haven't they? The reduced work of Shakespeare.
They probably have.
They have.
But if you just did it all together, like as one thing,
right, threading them into one show. It might make sense
to some people. Yeah, right. It's possible somebody has done that. People are doing so much with Shakespeare these days. Just that theater in the rough. So you were gonna be Bloody Mary. That's amazing. Yeah. I loved growing up with South Pacific. I watched like South Pacific and Carousel and all the movie versions. And that was a really, really fun, especially that song.
Right.
She's wonderful. You're playing like the mother figure again, which is Abuela. And Abuela, by the way,
I've been typecast since I was 16, so it took me a while to get over that, actually, because in the early days, especially, my mum's like, "Why don't you get the pretty princess lead roles?" And I was always the comic supporting actress, character, witch, whatever it is. And when you're a teenager, it's like, what's wrong with me? Am I like, do I look wrong? And I had to finally embrace it, that it's a compliment of sorts. And it's a talent in itself to be able to play those big women, those character parts. And they're so much more fun. So it took me that teenage journey to understand that there was a big blessing in it. People used to tell me that I'm a young Ethel Merman or a young Bette Midler, and now they're leaving out the young. So, but hey, if I'm getting a compliment that I'm like Ethel Merman or Bette Midler, that's a huge compliment. So I'm not complaining about that anymore. But yes, Abuela is definitely the oldest character I've ever played, and so that took me aback again. Being a grandma, I'm still in denial. I'm stuck at 32. I don't believe I have teenage children. It's really, really hard for me. When I see everyone,
You're stuck at 16. You're stuck at 16.
no, I'm not stuck at 16. I'm realizing I'm not 16, but around 32. But
Okay.
when I see the people on the Beit Hillel stage, and I still feel like them, and I feel like they're my age peers sometimes, maybe just because I'm young at heart. And I realize that I first started on that stage at their age 27 years ago. It's a bit freaky. So yeah, that's a little weird, but it doesn't feel like it's happened. It just feels like reincarnations of the same, not that I'm getting any older, but I guess I am, because now I'm an abuela.
But I mean, it's much. They could give you a wig, and then I actually had a friend. I have a friend, an actress that worked in a pizza store, or I worked in a restaurant right next door, and we became close. And she was telling me how she played Abuela, and she was like probably in her 20s. They gave her a wig. She was Abuela.
Right.
But it's she does have such a young. Also Bloody Mary. There's something young about them.
So that's what I'm learning. I'm learning also, like I look at my mom and she's 93 and she's so youthful, and I don't think she feels any different to how I feel now. So I'm basically understanding that this is just, it's when they say the cliche, you're as young as you feel, I think that's really what it's about. But you only get the slap in the face when you get cast in the older roles the whole time. And that's how you realize you've got older.
Well, there's some iconic roles that are at that age.
And they're so meaty and they're so rich and they're so beautiful, because those roles do have life history and meaning to them. So it's a real honor. Like, I felt so honored to play Abuela. It was an amazing experience. And this whole Starcatcher experience, it was my first Starcatcher experience, which for me, that level of theater in the English speaking community theater was so amazing to see and be a part of. I've been so impressed by that. Like, as I said, I started way back when. And we used to do great musicals at Beit Hillel, but it's only now that I realized, oh, we didn't have live musicians. All we had was Michael Burl on the piano. He wasn't sitting back there directing. He was playing the piano the whole way through the show, and that was the only music we had. But it was still great and a really great level. But things like that have just become so much more sophisticated. And the musician community that's joined the theatre community is so fantastic. And the richness and the standard and the level of that has really brought it up a ramp. The other thing I always used to say is, part of the thing of being in the theatre community then was it felt like a carousel, because a lot of the time it was students on their junior year abroad or on a program who would get involved, especially at Hillel, but also in the other shows of the other organizations like Jest. And they would leave at the end of the year. So, as you know, part of community theatre is creating the community, the intimacy of the community, the family feeling, everything else. You'd create that, and then 3/4 of the people would disappear and not be here again. And you'd start again with a whole new load of people the year after. So that felt very transient, and that was difficult for that feeling of community. And it felt like a carousel that people would come on and off all the time. And now with Encore and Starcatcher and the ACI and everything else, you've really built a community that is here, of the people who are living here, who live and breathe English-speaking theatre, who have created this beautiful, supportive family, who are passionate about what we do and love each other. And that was my first experience of that, that we really do have a more permanent community that's building, that's developing, that's growing and getting better and better all the time. And I found that amazing and very exciting. The only time we ever had in the shows that I did, there was an attempt to do semi-professional theatre, that the actors would actually get paid, and we'd do it on a professional level in theatres around Israel. It was a big failure after the show. It was Guys and Dolls in 2001. It was called the Capitol Theatre Company, and the person that tried to do it got into huge debt and ran the country, and then there's a whole scandal about what happened after that. So it never worked. Obviously not a great business plan. It was a big scandal at the time, but the show was fantastic. We had an amazing director, his name is Shuki Wagner. He directs a lot of the shows and the professional theaters in Tel Aviv. He recently did Hairspray and Chaplin, which was on just before the lockdown. And he came into it originally because he wanted experience doing English-speaking theatre, because he was working in the Hebrew-speaking theatre world. So we had this wonderful professional director, and we really managed to do something on that level. But it didn't happen again at that level until what I'm feeling now, and that's been really impressive and very exciting.
And it's not semi-professional even.
Right. It's officially not semi-professional, but I think it's even higher standards than that. I mean, choreography, music, sets, and the talent that's out there right now in the community that's being created, I think it's right up there.
Yeah, totally. I always say the only difference between professional and what we do is money. Is people are getting paid. We have such amazing talent in this community. And we mentioned it when I had Yaeli, Eli, and Jeff here, Jeff Rosenstein. They grew up in the community. So really, that's really where we're seeing now is people continuing to grow from within our community, and learning from our community and just bringing it higher. I just want to ask a few questions that some of the people who are watching asked, and then we're going to talk about your son a bit, if that's okay.
Okay.
So, Batya Feder, by the way, says bonjour.
Bonjour.
And Shlomit, you're going to have to interview me or start doing Jet Live, because you asked such amazing questions.
We love Shlomit.
And Daniel Lewin had a few questions, so I'm going to to show this right here. You see that question right there?
How did you get to theater? What was the first show you did in Israel? And what are your favorite characters? Okay, I will start backwards. My favorite characters in backwards are Abuela, Dolly in Hello Dolly, Adelaide in Guys and Dolls. You asked me what favorite character you did. I have one dream role that I haven't managed to do, so I'm going to slip this into this question. My life dream is to play Mama Rose in Gypsy. So if anybody wants to get out there and help me make that happen. Yes. So what was the first show I did in Israel?
Daniel Lewin actually asked, what role would you love to do next? So
there you go. It's Mama Rose is my dream. Yes, what was the first show? Shlomit, what was the first show I did in Israel? It was Phantom of the Opera with Michael Berl at Beit Hillel in 1993. And it was awesome.
Phantom of the Opera?
And it was awesome. And I hate Phantom, and it was awesome. I played Carlotta.
We just got an angry like, or I don't know if you could say angry like. It's kind of it's more of a, we got an angry like for it must be from Phantom of the Opera. I'm not really sure. But,
I think it's a horrible show, but we did a really good job. It was great, and everyone loved it. But I'll segue it by the second show I did, which was also at Beit Hillel, which was because it's linked to my favorite characters, and that was Blood Brothers. It was the first time. I think they've done it 3 times at Beit Hillel. It was the first time they'd done it, and I was Mrs. Johnston, and I love that character. I had so much fun, and also because one of my dreams is also to be able to talk in a Liverpoolian accent all day long. I've always wanted to talk like this all day long, so I did get to talk like this all day long. And I think most people didn't really understand what I was saying, including Michael Berl. Because most of the time when they do Blood Brothers, they don't do it in a Liverpoolian accent, even though it's meant to be.
Right. Were you the only one doing it on the stage?
There are a few. There are some good American students that pulled off.
So this is Daniel Lewin's question. He wants you to get into the meat and potatoes of how you're feeling.
The color. Yeah. Are you talking about the heat as in the heat wave, or the heat as in this is a hot situation to be in?
I think you can answer either one, and it'll be right.
I could do with a piragua. Let's put it that way. Yeah, this isn't fun. This isn't fun. On a personal note, especially because hello, my little one is at high risk. So we're trying to figure out as a family how to deal with that. If all the kids are going to go back to school, how do we keep her safe? Does it mean we need to shelter her somewhere else? Are we going to split up? Are we going to stay together? Who's going to stay? What we're going to do? We have no idea. We need a vaccine fast. And I
Amen.
think and I think that question also leads into what's on my mind at the moment, which is the bar mitzvah of a dean who is my third kid, and the sticky situation that this has put us in. So I can wait for that one, or we can cover that one now, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. We'll go right into that, and then Shlomit had another question, and I think Dale set the record yesterday, so I think we'll have a little time. So you could talk. Why don't we go to that, and then we'll ask Shlomi's question to close it off.
Okay, so being the crazy musical mad person that I am, when my third son Adin was born, he was born on the Hanukkah, and I'm sitting there with a newborn in my arms, and I realize that the parsha this week is Miketz, and I'm like, oh, his bar mitzvah, Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And that was amazing. That was the first thing I think of when I have a kid born in that week. It became a thing with the kids in the family. We've grown up learning it. They've always been excited about it. It's always been our dream, and the kids adopted that dream. It's not just this crazy stage mama's dream, that we would do Joseph. And we had a lot of plans of how we were going to pull that off. A lot of people in the theatre community were going to help with that. And then, as they say, we plan and God laughs. So we have until Hanukkah to figure it out, because his bar mitzvah is 7th night Hanukkah. His bar mitzvah party is the 7th night Hanukkah, because that's his birthday. He was also born on his grandfather's yahrzeit. We do things melodramatically in our family. And of course, the Shabbat is Niketz. And I have a son who's saying, how are we going to do this, Mom? And I'm like, we're going to do this. So this is the call. Jeff and Eli and Marty and you and Dina very kindly sat down and brainstormed with me. And this one is definitely going to take a beautiful community family village to pull off. So we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but in plan A to Z, we have A, B, C, and Z that Marty and I came up with, is everything from actually having a live performance in a live theatre, a one-night performance of Joseph, that we would like to ask you, anyone in the community here who would like to join us and make a Dean's Bar Mitzvah special and do Joseph with us on a one-night performance, please let me know. We would like as many of you as possible to be involved. We think it would be dafka, an amazing thing right now to unite around doing something beautiful for a bar mitzvah boy who wants to be involved in musical theatre and make something special happen and cheer everybody up. So we're trying to pull off a production of Joseph on the 7th night of Hanukkah, either a live performance with a live audience, followed by a big after party, which will be the bar mitzvah party, which everyone will be involved in. If restrictions mean we can't do that, plan B is to do that live performance without an audience and have a live stream. It will be a live streamed live show. Plan C is to make a movie. Like, let's get together as a cast. We'll go out on set, Canaan. I don't know. We'll go out into the desert and we'll film it, and we'll have a watch party as his bar mitzvah party. And plan Z, if it all falls apart, is we'll do a Zoom version. But somehow we're going to pull this off. And please do this with us. Be in touch with me. Let me know. Everybody is not only welcome, but we would really appreciate you having with us and trying to pull off something beautiful for this, and joyful and cohesive of all of us for doing something good together for Adin's Bar Mitzvah.
So there have it. Yeah. Community call right there on Jet Live. That was awesome. Um, thank you, Gabby. And anybody really is welcome to contact Gabby. There's to shoot ideas around and see if we can do this, and we will have something on the seventh night of Hanukkah. It will
Oh
happen.
man.
Amen. So Shlomi actually asked another great question that I think I was going to mention. I was going to ask you, but she beat me to it. So there we go. How did you start in theater?
Okay, so
How
my
do
start
you?
in
And
theatre
most
was a
likely
little bit traumatic and still is. Um, Apart from, I was involved in a youth movement called Maccabi Association London in England that used to put on musicals. So that was really the first time I got to get on stage. Because in school, I used to get cast in the leads in all the roles in the school's plays and in the school musicals, and then used to get dropped because they were always on Friday night. And it was extremely, extremely traumatic. Especially for a teenager who is passionate about this, and because of the social status you get from being in plays at high school, it was a really big deal, and I have the scars of it until today. The biggest scars of which were in the sixth form, which is 12th grade. The biggest thing is the girls' school got to do a play with the boys' school, and it was cabaret. Which to date is one of my favorite musicals of all time. I just think it's incredibly powerful and meaningful. And I got cast as Sally Bowles, and they came to me and said, "We're really sorry. We're not racist. We hope you understand. It's got to be on Friday night." And they wouldn't let someone understudy. I ended up doing makeup and backstage, which is an honorable thing to do in itself. But when you have to sit there and watch someone being your lead role, I cried maybe for a year and a half. And it was extremely traumatic. Um, Leading on from that, I went to university, and the same thing kept happening at university. I was in all the university theatre productions, and I would keep getting cast in lead roles, and then I wouldn't be able to do it because they were on Friday nights. Um, and often they would give me a small part so I could be in other days just to be nice. But again, I missed out on all those lead roles until in my last year at university, I decided I had to do something. So I set up my own theatre company together with the people that were running the other theatre companies in the university union, and we did a production of Ghetto, which is an amazing musical about the Shoah by Yoshua Sobel. And it was an incredible experience.
I've heard a lot about Ghetto recently because we just did for Yom HaShoah CBDB Productions. We did Vilna, which is about the Ghetto of Vilna, which Ghetto also happens to. There were characters, the same characters actually.
Right. It is an amazing musical. I actually have a video on it on my YouTube channel. It's a little fuzzy because it's from those days. It was 1991. But if anybody wants to do that, I'd love to be involved because it's an incredibly powerful experience. And both the book and the music is excellent. The extra level of what I did at university was half the cast was Jewish and half the cast was not Jewish. And it was incredible Holocaust education, being in that, living and breathing those characters together. It was an amazing experience. And I think that stayed with the whole cast ever since. So then I made Aliyah and got into the whole theatre scene around here. Again, I really wanted to get into professional theatre. I tried and got the same answer, except here it was worse, because here it was either the Shabbat issue, because most of the musicals were not just on in Jerusalem, but were on around the country, and there were Friday night performances. And especially then, I think it's a little easier now. It's a little more tolerance now, but then it was especially like, so it was like, so you can't sing in public anyway, so what are you doing here? So I was basically getting pushed away on all sides. And thank God there was the English-speaking theatre community to be a part of something wonderful and embrace, and to be able to express that creativity and be on stage. But it's always been a huge frustration to me.
But you've been doing some really iconic roles in our community, and you're making a bar mitzvah for your son as a musical. That's like that. When does that happen? I feel like I'm John Krasinski now, the way I actually wrote, by the way, I wrote one of
my very good friends as an early bar mitzvah present, brought me and my son Adin and my daughter Mia to the opening of Joseph in the West End last summer as preparation for our bar mitzvah performance.
Awesome.
And it was amazing. And we've been full steam ever since. So even more so invested in let's get this happening.
And you're going to put those, that's going to be like the necklace or whatever with the bones. I mean, that'll be somebody in Egypt wearing that, right?
Oh, yeah. Someone's got to wear this thing.
Someone's gonna wear it, right? I actually, so that was one of my first blog posts.
Put the hat back on.
One of my first blog posts on jetcommunity.org was exactly about that. How we don't even do theater that anybody can be a part of. You could be Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be Greek Orthodox. Also, by the way, I was in a school with a Greek Orthodox girl, and she basically said there are times where they can't perform because they have like special weeks in church or whatnot. So we actually have created a theater here where anybody can be a part of it.
That was especially pertinent at Beit Hillel from the beginning, because it's a world of students, and there are always Muslim, Christians, Jewish students, people from all backgrounds there. So that's always been one of the added benefits of the theatre experience there. It's always been amazing. And also, I've seen Michael Burl at Beit Hillel do shows where he's honored people who are Shomer Negia and adjusted parts so they don't have to touch each other and can still be in the show, which is also an amazing thing.
Yes, we're very good at that here. Who was it? They did Grease here, where Miri Frankel and Yisrael Edward Cohen, or Edward or Yisrael, depends who you ask. He's now in Montreal, I believe, and she's in Tel Aviv, and they played the lead roles, and they had the whole scene in the car where you're supposed to kiss. She was Shomer Negia, and they were able to make it work. And actually, in the States now, they're coming up with these intimacy directors. So they're even I think we have a lot of people that know how to kind of create those kind of intimate moments without actually touching,
which may be very helpful now in this Corona crisis.
Yeah. In the Corona crisis, for sure.
We've got the experience of how to do that. Now it's going to come in useful.
Wow, we just came up with something that's great for our community. Some good news. That actually is that's a great point. That's a great point. Wow, I never thought about that. Yeah. I mean, the question is if we can still recreate a quick kiss from 2 meters away, but
it's all about the eyes and the strength of the moment in between, the electricity that flows in between the two people. You don't need any face tucking.
I actually had an acting friend who went to I think Lee Strasberg Studios, and I wasn't Shomer Negia. I actually started not being Shomer Negia in my acting school in order to get more comfortable with that fact. And he's like, the only people who knew I was Shomer Negia in my classes were my scene partners. He was like Shomer Negia the whole entire time, any scene he did, and he was able to make that happen. So it can be done, and our community has really embraced that. A lot of the audition sheets, right? If you go into an audition, you'll see on there, they'll say like, what are you not comfortable with? And they will make that work for you.
Well, that's amazing. I think that's also part of the world just being much more tolerant these days. I think, in the early 90s, the struggles that I was talking about in terms of not being included in theatre, I think it's a little easier now. It's not completely solved, but it's definitely a little easier. People are more respectful and more inclusive.
There's a lot of inclusivity. We even made the Chicken Shack connection. I think when I was there, we spoke about that.
Right.
What about your daughter? They're actually doing a whole thing now online called Tails TV. They're taking their Tails tradition and putting on Tails TV. I did a few videos for them now. So there's a lot of inclusivity happening. Yeah, for sure. Sure. It's gonna. So what are the roles that you guys cast yourselves as?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so Mia, you want to say hi? Mia's too
for
shy.
Sure.
Come and say hi, Mia. Yeah, I didn't get to talk about that. One of the greatest theatre moments. I talked about roles. I don't love Annie and Miss Hannigan, but being in a show with your daughter is the best fun ever. That was really, really great. So she got to be Molly and I was Miss Hannigan, and we had a ball doing that. So I'd love to be in a show with Mia again. That would be really good.
Yeah, you could have your own Jet Live session sometime. Just let me know.
I tell all the real secrets. So yeah, so you want to say who's who in our family in the Joseph cast?
Well, we don't know for sure yet, though.
Right, we've got a problem with Daddy, but we'll work it out. But more or less, obviously, Dean is Joseph. We're splitting the narrator part between us. We have Eliav being one of the sons, we're not sure which, with one of the funny songs. Leia Stern, we have promised you Potiphar's wife, and you have it. We're trying to see what Stephen, my husband, is going to do. We want him to lip sync Pharaoh, but he's a little offended.
What? He can't sing it?
Well, that's why he's offended.
We have time. There's a few months for him to learn it. And okay, that face said it all.
I know, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible wife. But the thing is, I think he'd be awesome lip syncing it. I think it would just be really cool because he's great with all the movements and the acting and everything else.
He should watch the lip sync battles with from I don't know if it's Saturday Night Live or whatever. I forget who does it.
Yeah, I love those. But I think he's seriously offended, and he's right. I'm a horrible wife.
Well, he could always sing it, and then his mic just won't work. Technical difficulties happen all the time.
Poor Stephen, he's so great.
I was thinking you both can be the narrator. One could do the Hebrew and one could do the English.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And I could be Pharaoh. Miriam's casting herself. Oh, they're all casting themselves as Pharaoh.
Cast us up, guys.
Miriam.
Today, that we should think about doing some of it in Hebrew, because it's really like "Close Every Door to Me" is so like a prayer. It's such a tefillah that it for me. I don't like musicals in Hebrew most of the time, and Les Mis bothered me a lot. But the one song that I really think in Les Mis in Hebrew, because it's a prayer and it feels like a prayer and it feels like it should work, and it feels somehow more powerful in Hebrew. So yeah, "Close Every Door to Me." And Eli also mentioned the scene where Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. It's like he's suddenly speaking to them in their own language. So it has that extra power when it's in Hebrew.
That actually I thought was really cool. Shlomit actually did the Hebrew version as well when she was younger. So let's
brainstorm.
You've got an amazing community here. I'm really excited about that. I'm so excited that you joined us on Jet Live tonight.
And Mia,
Mia, thanks for jumping in last minute surprise. We're gonna end about now. I'm just gonna mention who's joining us next week because it's Thursday. So we got Shabbat starting, and then Sunday we're gonna start this up again. We've got Rachel Dean on Sunday evening. She's the rehearsal pianist for Hamilton as well as Moulin Rouge. She's working on a new musical called Medusa with Wes Braver. I don't have it in front of me, but Wes is his name. We'll find out more on Sunday. And she's doing an accelerator program this weekend, so I'm going to be talking to her about that and how she's dealing with Corona. She was studying at NYU as well. We've got Mati. See, Mia, you can be on Jet Live. We got Mati. Let's see if I get it right. Metzinger. If I got it wrong, that's okay. I get it all wrong all the time. he's gonna be talking with us on Monday at
He's
8 p.m.
11, right? He's 11?
12, I believe.
12. He's
11,
awesome.
12. He is awesome. I love watching him do his thing. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what he's done, what his future is going to look like. We hope there is a future out there. And David Gelman is joining us on Tuesday. Then we have Barack Bard of Ben Bard Players on Wednesday. Wow, it's a full week. And then on Thursday, we've got Jen Fleischer and Elisa Schaffman-Land to join us with J-Town Playhouse.
See you, Jen. Refuah Shlema.
Yes, Refuah Shlema to Jen.
And Shifra. There's a world out there.
And Shifra Penkower too. Refuah Shlema to Shifra.
Refuah Shlema to Shifra.
And then the week after that, we've got a few people joining us as well, including a Next to Normal reunion. I'm really excited about that.
That's nice.
So
nice. Singing, so we get to hear some of it. Like
I don't know. We're probably going to do it on Zoom because this only has a limited amount of people that are able to be on it, and I don't know. Solos. Singing together is a little bit difficult. We'll see. We're not rehearsing beforehand, so. Anyways, yeah, that's the. Thanks, Miriam. I made sure. That's the lineup for the next week and a half. I'm really excited. Thank you again for joining me on Jet Live tonight. And
very, very good to be here. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for doing this. It's an amazing thing, and it's made us all feel in touch, inspired, excited that our world's still there, everyone's still there for each other, and that there's excitement ahead. So really, thank you, CB. It's great.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.